Welcome back, everybody, to the second episode of the podcast, Beyond the Stage. Thank you for joining me on this journey once again. For the last 27, almost 30 years, I've been privileged to have an amazing experience on stage and cutting my teeth in a ministry background, and it's been an incredible journey. And this is what these conversations are about. I've been privileged enough to learn, cut my teeth, have so many rich experiences that I feel it's time to talk about them. I feel it's time to engage, to talk about them, and we all have a story to tell, and this is my story. And so thanks for joining me on the journey. I'm believing it's going to impact you and inspire you on the journey that you're on in your life beyond the stage. We all put our best foot forward sometimes, but sometimes the hard knocks of life happen beyond the stage. The 95% of the time we are preparing for the stage experience. And so today, welcome to Beyond the Stage with myself, Lyndon Peterson, and a big round of applause. Yeah! Well, today, folks, I am so privileged and so just grateful for the friendships that I've had over the years, the love that I've had over the years, and one particular gentleman who's walked with me through many journeys, many ups, many downs, but we are friends. And when I asked him a couple of weeks ago, would you come on board, he was very excited and just supported this whole concept of Beyond the Stage, because we have in fact had many conversations beyond the stage. And so I want to introduce to you my friend, an amazing brother, an amazing man, my dear friend Carlo McFarlane.
Woohoo!
Everybody, yay!
So good to be here, Lynn.
Carl, thank you so much for coming through and for agreeing and just supporting what I believe is a message that's needed.
Yeah.
When we chatted and when we often chat, I'm like, Carl, I feel there's this urgency to talk.
Absolutely.
To engage, to talk about life.
Yeah.
To engage. We've both come from kind of similar kind of backgrounds.
Yeah.
You a little bit more in the public eye in different arenas than myself, and so thank you for being here. I need to give you a bit of I did some research on you. I did some research on you, and so for those of you who don't know, ladies and gentlemen, Carlo McFarlane is a versatile South African actor, singer, dancer, and presenter. Best known for his role as Sean on Backstage, ladies and gentlemen. From 2001 to 2003.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, a while ago. Yeah, that's why those hairs are starting to come out right now. After his breakout role, he continued to build a diverse career in television, theatre, and film, and has appeared in many in a TV series like Muvhango, Villa Rosa, and took the lead roles in musicals such as Fame and Footloose.
Yeah.
Right. His stage work has garnered, incredible words right here, garnered critical acclaim, including a Naledi Theatre Award nomination for Fame. McFarlane is also featured in international productions such as Cinderella Story. I mean, it just goes on right here. Hey, what have you not done? What have you not done?
Fun.
What have you not done?
It's been great, man. You know, God's been so good. I've had the privilege of doing TV, film, theatre, acting, dancing, singing, here in South Africa and abroad, you know, so it's really just been a blessed career, you know. It's been up and down, you know. You experience the highs and the lows, and I think, you know, that's what we're here to talk about.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, what happens on stage is the tip of the iceberg. You know, 90% of life and the things that make it all happen is underneath ground, you know, is what happens on the inside, you know, and behind the scenes. So yeah, man, I mean, that's what we're here to talk about. And I just want to say I'm so excited to be here. And well done to you, man. I think I really do. When you called me, like you said, I was like, you know what, it's time. We've had some experiences, some really great mountaintop moments, but also some super low valley moments where life gets real, like stuff gets real, and you're like, okay, what is really important and what matters in those moments is where you find out whether you're built on a solid foundation or whether things are actually topsy-turvy, you know.
That's right.
So
yeah, absolutely. So we've got a little bit of life underneath our belts, and so not like we're any authority on these topics, but we do have a little bit of life underneath our belts
and share experiences.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit more about your background beyond what I've already said. but a little bit more of your background, where you grew up.
Yeah.
I know your story, but I'm sure our viewers would love to know as well your story, where you grew up, how you grew up.
Yeah. So I was just a young guy, just a kid from the hood, growing up in Elders for the first kind of period of my life, as a youngster.
Yeah.
And I remember playing on the streets, marbles, riding my bike, meeting friends, flying kites, doing what kids do you play in the street or on the grass all the time.
Yeah.
We didn't have tablets, man,
No, bro. No,
we were always outside hanging out, and then at 5 o'clock when it gets dark, your mom's like, it's time to get inside,
That's right. When the street lights go off, right?
When the street lights go off, you got to be inside,
or
your butt's gonna get whipped, We got hidings, proper hidings.
No, I'm with you, man. I tell my kids the same thing, When those lights go on, well, we live in a complex, but when you see those lights go on in the complex, you better be home, So that's followed through, definitely followed through,
Yeah, so, that's where I kind of grew up, some really, fun things about it. But also the realities of living in that time and in that place was that you have the element where there's violence, where there's gangsterism, where those kind of things are a reality. And unfortunately, at the age of 8, my dad was murdered by a gangster.
Wow.
And really just in a situation where he was trying to protect a young girl who we all knew, and this gangster was harassing her. And my dad really just tried to calm the situation, intervene, and got the short end of the stick, And that left my mom, my brother, myself, pretty much to fend for ourselves. And as a single mom, my mom really, she was like, I cannot bring my kids up in this place. Okay. Took us out, and lived wherever else she could, We moved to Hillbrow at a time when people, were not allowed to in terms of race and population.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But she pressed. She was like, I'm going to do whatever I can to give my kids a better life. Stayed there for a while, then moved to Randburg.
Hey, Hillbrow was a place to be back in the day, right?
It really was.
Now it's very different, but
it is, yeah. We used to walk around at night to the game shops to go buy bread at the corner shop, till late. That's how safe it was.
I remember the shawarma shops and Bimbos.
Fontana, High Point. I don't know if those places still are around, but definitely, that's where we were. And then Yeovil, Berea, which was really a little hub for, I guess, music, restaurants, those kind of things,
Absolutely.
Bands to play on a Friday night.
It was creative. There was a buzz. There was an energy. You were safe. You were.
You could walk around anytime.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of your mom wanted better for you, of course, kind of coming out of that environment.
Absolutely, and she did everything she could. She made sure myself and my brother, she put us into private schooling. And for me, at a point where she couldn't afford it any longer, she came to me and was like, look, son, I have to take you out of the school. We can't afford it. And at that time, she had been in a relationship, in an abusive relationship at that, and really needed to get out. I remember us actually running away, packing our bags overnight, and moving out of this situation where she was nearly killed in this relationship. So you have those really rough moments, and that's where we moved to Randburg, out of Yeovil and Berea area.
Yeah.
And it was close to Raymond, it was close to church, and by that time I was at varsity. But the miracle I wanted to share was when she decided she was ending that, she couldn't afford our schooling any longer, but a bursary holder came to our school, offered two kids a bursary for the rest of the schooling, even into varsity, and I was one of those kids chosen.
Wow.
So for me, that was just a testimony to the fact that, hey, I have a heavenly Father who is looking out for me, providing for all my needs. My mom didn't have to pay anything from that point onwards. So it was full high school, even into varsity.
Just incredible. Just incredible. It's amazing. I think of so many things right now as you're talking. Obviously I've known you as a caring, loving friend and to people, kind to people and stuff like that. I kind of envisage when you say your dad was out there trying to help, a lady, I kind of like that's you, man. That's you. Like that's.
Thank you, Lynn.
That seems like it's you. You know, it's like I would have loved to have met your dad.
He was awesome, you know, and I think that's the thing, you know, he was sold to me by his brothers, 7, 8 brothers and sisters,
man.
by my mom as somebody who loved people. You know, he passed on living out his passion, trying to care for people, trying to look out for others. So I think even as a youngster, that was something that I drew on. I was like, wow, that was my dad. He was awesome. And inside of me, I had a role model to kind of live up to, you know. So
even in his passing,
passing. So that was something that was a positive thing passed on to me, which as a youngster, I thought I should live up to that, you know. So I mean, for me, that was awesome, you know. So I credit to him, and the people who were around. They could have said all kinds of different things.
100%.
You know, my mom could have spoken about the hurt or the whatever it was, but she was your dad was incredible, and because young men need someone to look up to, they need a role model, you know. And,
Absolutely. You would never say, you never walk around with this like hurt on your shoulder or like I've been done in by life or whatever. You never, even if people, I'm sure, if you hear the story today, they'd never say like, wow, I think it's enlightening to them, you know. It's beautiful, man. It's really, really beautiful. And so, okay, so we've been friends for over 25 years, right?
Yeah.
But for the life of me, I don't know how we actually met. I know it was in church. Like, I don't know, was it like a handshake? Was it like a, what was it? Was it like, it was just a natural outgoing, right?
It was a natural thing. I mean, I think I went to church, you were there. You know what I mean? We'd see each other at youth camps. You were singing and in the choir, in the band and doing all kinds of stuff in youth, you know. And I think we just got to hang out. I don't even remember going, hi, I'm Carlo.
No. I kept thinking, how did we actually, there wasn't like a defining moment. Maybe it's just the innocence of teenagers, right?
This is you know each other, and sometimes you end up hanging out in the same places.
Absolutely.
And then afterwards it becomes a choice, you know. I was like, I remember thinking to myself, you know, this is such a, there's something in Linden that I resonate with. There's something in Linden that I can identify with, you know. And of course it's similar values, similar, I want to say, outlook on life, things that you consider important. You were, when I saw you, you were such a free, open, extroverted individual, you know. And I think coming from, somebody who I was actually quite very shy. I was shy. I was into my books and studies and, you know, sports. I enjoyed it, but I was not outgoing, and it was something I really admired in you. You know, that I was like, wow, that is something I admire. You know, just your sense of freedom and openness and how you spoke to people, you know, about yourself and God. It was. So I was drawn to that.
Oh, thank you, Carlos. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's amazing, the journeys that we've been on. But you, now, people would know you from the acting and the singing and the dancing and all of that on stage type thing. But you actually you were studying medicine. You started to study medicine.
Yeah, that was my goal. You know, when I finished school, I was like, man, I'm going into medicine.
And you started, right?
I did 4 years of a BSc honors, and in the year that I was meant to go into medicine, I felt just a tug on my heart, you know, to work with youth and you know, I wanted to do Bible school. I was just it was just this sense of a tug on my heart, you know, and I ended up taking a gap year. I remember sitting my mom down in a restaurant at Nando's, going, Mom, so you know that thing about medicine, I think I'm not going to do it next year. She's like, what? We've been working all this. And I said, you know what? I know, but there's something in my heart that's stirring, and I know I need to follow that, you know. And that was it. I ended up just taking a gap year. Started getting involved with youth, like Wednesday night cell groups, Friday night youth, youth camps and that kind of thing. And it was a passion for youth that was stirring up inside of me, you know. And I guess coming from a place of maybe brokenness or where things weren't all that great, and seeing God do something in your life, I wanted that for young people, I guess, where I came from, or where I saw the need and the lack, you know. And I didn't know how to meet that. I didn't know how to share that.
I got you.
So I was like, I need to know how to share that. I just got involved.
Yeah.
You know, coaching basketball and playing basketball with the guys in the rec center.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
You know, but it was in that, Lynn, that you know, when you serve, when you plant, like, you know, when a seed gets planted in good soil, what's inside of that seed begins to come out.
Yeah, man.
You know, and I think it was just the environment of openness and freedom that began to show who Carlo was, you know, and I didn't know I could dance or sing or act, or that this was where I could go, you know. As a matter of fact, when I used to, when the friends that I would hang out with at that time, when I would, you know, you'd watch MTV or music videos and you'd try to do something. We didn't have TikTok or whatever, but that was our TikTok, I guess. I would come and try to show friends and be like, whoa, dude, fuck Marky. We don't do that, you know? And this is how we dress. And this is like, okay. But in Raymond, in that youth environment, it was anything, you could be free to do whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, we're going on a youth camp, I might as well try something cool.
Yes.
So I was like, I'll try the dance team. And I ended up making it, you know.
Oh, wow.
Auditioning. And I remember the guy, Chris, who's one of our mutual friends.
Yes.
He prayed that day and he was like, Lord, let this be something special for someone. And I felt that was me.
Oh, wow.
Because from that time, I started to dance, I started to enjoy it, and just this creative burst started coming out. I ended up exploring it, getting work in this situation. I remember somebody coming to me and saying, hey, we'll pay you like, I think it must have been $200 or $500 for a gig. I was like,
you'll pay me?
I can get paid for this?
I can get paid for this? What am I sleeping on here? And have fun, If I do
and that just sparked a curiosity and an exploration.
Yeah, man.
You know, to do more and to train, and eventually became my career, you know, with God opening up the doors in TV, film, theater, internationally, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, incredible. So your mom was obviously, he's on the right track. He's doing...
Well, initially it was like, wait and see, let's see, you know. And I had a little bit of work on the side, which was formal, I guess, business in health and nutrition. Along the lines of what I'd studied. And I remember the one day coming from a Miss World gig.
Yes.
And at Sunset, and Mom says, you know, son, you had to get a real job. And I was like, okay. So I suited up. I put my coat on, jacket, whatever.
Okay.
Called the clients I had. I'm going to get serious about this now, you know, make it my career. But handed out flyers like I normally would. But none of my clients picked up that day. And just, I could not stand in the traffic one more day handing out flyers about my business.
At least you did it. At least you went, you know.
I tried, Mom. Mom, if you're watching, I tried.
He tried, okay? He tried.
And, you know, I ended up down at the end of the day in the library and just Randburg Library praying. I was like, Lord, help me, you know? And that day, that week, something like that, a friend called and said, hey, Carl's missed SAT auditions. And in those days, those were massive auditions. Yeah, man. Hundreds of people going for them because it was a big gig.
I remember those. Yeah, I remember those.
You sang at many of those.
I remember those. Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, those were. I mean, those were big, right? That was like if you're involved, it's quite a huge thing.
And
right?
it was a great paying thing as well. I was like, okay, cool, let's audition. And I tried. I felt like I was fumbling through it, but at the end of it, I got selected and. So Mizi was actually hosting that audition.
Okay.
And he was passing people off left, right, and center. But at the end of the day, it was like, you, go get your costume fitted. I was like, what? Me? Yeah, you know, got in. And from that day, never stopped working in the industry as a professional dancer. Got into the Kwaito scene, dancing with artists. Got an agent. Who then, started doing acting auditions and all that kind of stuff. Never acted a day in my life. But my first audition backstage, I got it. You know, and for me, that was just the confidence that God.
Huge, right?
Yeah, that was a huge show at that time. God had just given me a sense of confidence to do whatever.
Yeah.
And got into it, but then I had to learn very quickly
Yeah.
what it was all about, you know. But it was inside of me, and it just needed tailoring and nurturing and coaching and classes. So I would do a whole lot of classes and acting courses, and I mean, I had an acting coach every day on set helping me, and I sponged off her, man, and did everything that I could to learn my craft better, you know. And and then grew.
Incredible. So there's a real, like, this is not just, hey, this is a talent, so I can do this. There's a real, like, there's some craft involved there. There's some energy involved in there.
Absolutely.
You know,
you can be given the talent, but you can neglect the talent, you know, or bury the talent. But I really, when given the opportunity, I had to work hard for it. I had to apply myself. I needed to go and study. You know, the Bible says study to show self-approved, and we know that it's referring to going into the Word, but it's like whatever your craft is, you need to be excellent at it and do the best that you can with it, you know.
Yeah.
And because that then became my career and the thing that I guess puts food on the table.
Carl, that's absolutely incredible. So I want to, you know, we've had some interesting, funny moments in our journey as friends together. I can mention one that comes to mind. But I'll maybe tag team on your funny moment that you may have of us being friends together, because I think our friendship's really special, right?
Yeah.
I've always compared it to Jonathan and David in the Bible.
Absolutely.
And it's, you know, they say if you have 2 or 3 good friends in life, you're rich. Yeah. And I can honestly say, like, I'm a rich man with friends like you in my life.
Same here.
And one or 2 other folks, but I feel totally blessed by that. You know, if you can call, which I have in times past called, and you've been there, it's been really, really special. And I think for a lot of people who don't have friends within their lives, like real friends who can also be honest and go, bro, that's not working, it's not happening. Why are you doing that? You know, I can mention things right now. But I remember when I was making relationship decisions, you know, at one stage, you were like, Lynn, no, that's not you. In fact, you were the only one at one stage that said to me, no, bro, no, it's not. I was like, everyone was like being polite and like, yeah, cool, we support you and stuff like it. So, but funny experience that we've had together. You would remember. I've got one that I want to share.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything from your end?
I think it might be the same one.
Cool. Let's do it. We can tag team on that.
I'll talk about the journey down there.
Please do it. Please do it.
So we decided we were going on holiday.
Yeah.
To Cape Town.
Yeah, man.
And I remember at that time I had this old school GTI VW. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
2 with the fat pipe 6x9s and amp in the back, busting it up.
That's it, man.
You know, and we decided we're going to take this road trip, man, and that was the funnest thing. Go down to Cape Town.
Oh man.
Driving down to Cape Town. Now the moment I remember was late at night. I mean, we're driving. And
we took a wrong turn or something as well.
We took a wrong turn, and we ended up taking a bit more of the scenic route.
Yeah.
Via PE, and then we had to find our way back down. But I distinctly remember laying down and switching roles, you know, and one of our other friends taking the wheel and driving.
Yeah.
And leaning on the back window and just hearing and goops. I mean, I was like, what?
What is going on? Oh man, what
so
an
that
experience.
Was fun. That was
what an
good.
experience. So that exact same thing, right? So you guys got to understand, like, Carlo's in the height of backstage, and the backstage was had a viewership of, and I actually Googled it, somewhat over 1 million at the time. It was a youth program at the time. Was a half-an-hour slot on ETV at that time. It was huge, right? And so we decide New Year's Day, we're gonna go to the public. It's hot. It's New Year's Day. We're down in Cape Town, so we decide we're gonna go
have a swim.
To go and have a swim at the public swimming pool. And as I'm standing in the line to go in, as we're about to pay and stuff like that, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is not Carlo, my friend. This is Sean from backstage. And people are starting to notice and come to you and shake your hand, and more people. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is maybe not going to be a pleasant experience. But I was literally pushing people away and going, sorry, one at a time. Could you just, one at a time, please. Sorry, one at a time. And it was just, I was like, why why have we done this to ourselves?
That was a moment, man.
After a while, I was like, no, forget it. You're on your own, bro. I'm going for a swim.
Then it was like, peace out.
I'm gone.
I'll see you later. I was like,
I'm gone. That was just the craziest, funniest. But it goes to say, Carls, you've never been. You've never been this kind of person where the fame has gotten to you, or you've just been chilled, man. You've just been cool. You've just been chilled, and I'm sure you've had to keep yourself, humble and be around people like myself to keep you up.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
But you've never, it's just, you were so chilled that day. And I think you took like an hour or whatever. And I was like, for me, it was an unpleasant experience. But you just greeted everyone. You loved on everyone. And it was just a testament to who you are as a person.
Thank you.
And it was a beautiful experience. I was just like, not that I'd do it again, but it was just a testament to who you are and the person that you are. And that was like, funny but not so funny experience for me.
Yeah, no, thank you, Lynn. And I think I can relate, because these days, when we go places after church or something, I'm like, Lynn is just there, speaking to people, ministering to people, chatting and loving on people.
Oh man.
But I think when you have a passion for people, and you understand that God has given you the platform for a reason. And the reason is 99% of the time people.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, man, absolutely.
That you get to impact, associate with, speak to.
Sure.
Then you understand. No, this is what it's about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think for me that was the awesome thing, because I remember when I finished school, I wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And the reasoning behind it was, you get to help people, and you get to do something significant.
Love it.
And for me, getting this platform, I had the thought, oh wow, this is a significant platform. And what I did was I would go into the communities that I came from, high schools, primary schools, share my story and say, you know what, even if you come from a background of having no father, where gangsterism was an issue in your life, poverty might have been a struggle, I remember days when we would have, my mom would say, go change the bottles, at the shop for 20 or 50 cents or whatever amount that was, right? And buy bread, because there wasn't, So I went into schools just to say, hey man, you can be successful without having to go down the route of drugs or gangsterism, you know what I mean? You can find your passion, believe in God, and make a success of your life, and that was pretty much the platform I felt I was given, and I really did as much as I could to go out there, share my story, and share that message with people,
You've been a really good testament to that in helping others, especially in the communities and in the communities that you come from. And you still do that at the moment, You still do that at the moment.
As much as you can.
Yeah, you still do that at the moment. You're a father. You're married.
Yes.
You run your own business at the moment.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and just fatherhood and about to be a father again soon.
Yes. So I have a 13-year-old son.
Yep.
Who is just doing some incredible things. So proud of him. Yeah. He's had an opportunity to go to the States just recently. And play basketball with his team. So he's actually, as we speak this morning, he flew out with his team. So when he gets back, we'll hear all about his experience. But even that was a testimony, just getting him over there. We had to go through so many hurdles and so many impossibilities that it seemed like, is this thing going to happen?
Yep.
But God came through, and he's got a testimony now of how God has come through in his life.
Absolutely.
And I find whenever there are gaps in our lives, like not enough finances, or I'm not able in my own strength to do this, God fills that, and faith, our faith in God is what brings that through.
Beautiful.
So he's learning that. And yes, I have another little one on the way right now. A little girl due in March next year. So I have the privilege of being a dad.
Love it.
And it's exciting.
Love it.
A husband,
love it.
father.
Love it. I love the whole thing of the older brother, younger sister type thing. I think.
Yes.
I think David is going to be very protective and very loving.
Yeah,
and it's going to bring out something special in him as well, right?
Absolutely.
Something really special in him. Manhood.
Yes. Tough.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your journey, manhood. Yeah, speak to us a little bit about manhood, what that means for you and your current.
Yeah.
You know, we're in our 40s now, and so like I said earlier on, we got a bit of life underneath our belt, and there's a lot that's happening in our world, and
yeah, I think there's a transition into manhood, in life that one has to make, and it's from being a child and doing what kids do and living as kids do to becoming a man.
Yeah.
And taking on responsibility and understanding, hey, my actions have an impact not just on me, but on those around me, and I am responsible for someone else, whether it's a partner that you bring into life, children that you bring into life, and that you are responsible for that and will be held responsible for that, and I think it's, I think previously, in more cultural settings, not in our Western kind of world, young men would go to the mountain, go through a process and come back and be recognized as men. It was this switch over.
Yes.
Treated as men, given responsibility as men. Even your clothing was changed. And in certain tribes, there's a book called Wild at Heart by John Eldridge, and he speaks on this transition from manhood and what men need and what sparks the fire in men, that adventure and being wild at heart, going out there, being a conqueror. That's an important thing. That drives men. Just understanding that transition is important, and in our world today, there is not that kind of bar mitzvah that takes you from being here to there and having the support to becoming a man. You're 100%. Kind of left guessing as, okay, what is manhood and what is, and growing up without fathers, so many of us, men and women, don't know, don't have that father figure to kind of look up to go, hey, this is what a man is. This is, you kind of search for role models, you looking for them, finding them, and so that's where I think why it's so important to be in a church and in a community, because I remember seeing qualities in my youth pastors, in older men that I admired and thought, wow, that would be great, and how they treated you, how they carried themselves. I remember a family man, that I used to. His name was Charles Gibbons, and I, was friends with his kids and got into his home, and he was such a healthy, married man with kids, and I was like, oh wow, is this what
it
family looks like? This is what a man looks like, and what he does. He woke up early, went about his business, took care of his wife and family, and I was like, wow, this is, so, and needless to say, I mean, we make mistakes along the way because you just don't know sometimes,
When did that transition happen for you? You talk about this childhood to manhood, and it happens to all of us at different stages within our lives, right? And when did that kind of happen for you?
I think early 20s, early 20s into 30s, where you are getting married, becoming a career person, having a partner to look out for, a family, and I think just this understanding that your role changes and your priorities change. As a young person, you're dating and going out and whatever.
Man.
I had a career in the arts, and it was cool. I traveled, earned whatever, spent it on restaurants and whatever. There's no real need for, you don't think about the future as much, And as an artist, I'll speak in South Africa.
Yes.
When you're earning, I guess, an artist salary, and at times it's up and at times it's down, depending on whether you have work or not. You can ride it out, as a single guy with a girlfriend, or even married to somebody. The two of you can, but then kids come along, and there's a greater sense of stability.
Yes, sir.
That needs to come, and so you need to realize then, I need to create that sense of stability. You know, whether it's financial or your presence and time is required more in your home. And that meant stepping back from certain things that I might be doing, whether it's good in the community, at church, or whatever, and putting the focus where it needs to be. You know, priorities, first things first. And I think that's the thing. You know, manhood is realizing what is first, and what is second, and what is third.
Okay.
And sometimes there could be other voices, people, well-meaning people that will say to you, "Hey, you need to put this first or that first," you know. But going back to God's order is Him first, the husband and wife, and your family. And then taking care of other things. You know. And I think that's where things can go wrong if you don't have a healthy role model. Somebody could step in, seem like a role model, direct things in your life, and you're like, "Ooh, this doesn't seem or feel right," you know, and it kind of ends up in a place because you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You're such a good example of that. Your past doesn't need to dictate your future. And there's many, we're talking about manhood right now, many men who have maybe, for whatever reason, their environment and maybe made excuses or whatever it may be. It's just like there comes a time that you've got to go, well, I need to take responsibility for my stuff, you know. Could you speak into that a little bit in people who are going, where do I'm really into, but I'm stuck in a hole, I'm stuck in, like, how do I, you know, how do I get out of that, you know, because there is a definite switch up. For some people it comes later than others, but you go, okay, I need to do this, but if I'm not around the right people, if I'm not around the right, you know, how do I make that, make that work,
I think the question that I had to ask myself at one point was, if nobody comes to my rescue right now, if no outside help comes, whether it's financially or, you know, what am I going to do, you know? Because sometimes as people, or we look to others to kind of take care of our situation or stuff like that. But I think for me it was a thing of going, okay, your family is your responsibility, and you've got to own that and step up to it, you know. And I think one of the ways is, you know, as artists, you can go through financial challenges. I had to think, okay, if I don't have a gig, am I just gonna go, sorry, babe, there's no gig happening?
So good, bro.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. No, good. I had to pay attention to the season and the time, realizing that, hey, this season of being in the limelight and in the fame, and it had its purpose, it had its time. But I need to now be able to maybe take that and harness it and turn it into a business opportunity. So I had to educate myself in terms of business, how to run a business, how to start a business. What am I passionate about? How can I take what I know and have learned, or even my craft, turn it into a business?
That's so good.
So that it can become something that I can feed off for my family. You know, and so that was a major transition for me that I had to go through and go, look, I can't blame the industry for no gigs. I can't blame my agent. I can't call on whoever else. You know, I have to do something about it. And I think that for me was a transition, especially when you now have a family and a home and all those kind of more is needed, a greater level of financial responsibility. And I started an academy where I taught kids to dance, and my first class was my son and his other grade 2 friends. You know, there must have been 10 or 12 of them, and the teacher or the principal at the school was like, hey, you do this kind of thing, don't you want to take that? I was like, yeah, sure, I'll teach them.
Oh man.
You know, and it grew from his little grade, and they said, well, don't you want to do a couple of the other grades? And I was like, yeah, sure. And this was obviously over a bit of a period of time. And then going, hey, we have another school, don't you want to do the other school? And I was like, yes. and then we have a high school as well. And you know, so that grew, and since then this has become a business.
Yeah.
That really brings a real solid base of, I guess, income to the family.
Love it.
Where it's not dependent on weather or not. You know, it's not dependent on the weather.
Yes. Yes.
I have gigs or not. You know,
it's.
I've taken the responsibility to build something.
Sure.
And yeah,
Love
and
it.
all with God's help.
Love it. So you are in schools right now at the moment. How many schools are you in at the moment?
Ooh, I think 12.
Amazing.
12 schools that we run. Dance as an extramural program, in ballet. You know,
your wife's involved in that too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've done courses in presenting, in 6-week courses, 12-week courses, and acting courses. You know, vocal courses. So,
love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
You know,
love
that's a whole thing that we do right now.
Yeah. Because that's your company. That's what you
it.
run. That's your company right now at the moment.
Yeah, it's called Triple T Performing Arts.
Tell us a little bit more about that. Yeah, Triple T, and I know what it stands for, but
TTT stands for Top Triple Threat.
Yes.
And you know, I think for me, I would be what people would call a triple threat. You know, and you want to reach for the top. So Top Triple Threat is what the company does. You know, training youngsters, adults, people who maybe have a passion for the arts and maybe think that it's too late. No, it's not too late. You know, you can get into it. You can be trained and you can become whatever it is.
Yes.
You know, especially in acting and singing. There's no limit.
Absolutely, and the triple threat is the triple threat, ladies and gentlemen. The triple threat is singing, dancing, and acting. Right? Yeah, those coming together, and that's what you do so beautifully. And so wonderfully. Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. Now there were seasons where you were challenged, and I know because we've had some of these conversations, but you were challenged just in regards to your principles, to your to the things that you hold dear within the industry, to maybe do things that you weren't comfortable with.
Yeah.
How did you navigate those seasons, keeping to your principles and the things that you hold dear? How did you navigate those seasons? I know there were seasons where we call each other and we just kind of pray about it on the phone and go, Lord, how are we going to go about this? Because I think you've always wanted to be integrous.
Yeah.
I think your background with being a Christian, born again, loving the Lord, you've always wanted to do what you do well, but yet still keep to your principles. And how has that worked out for you over the seasons? Where are your no-go zones? And how would you also encourage those who are in a similar path to you, want to keep the integrity of who they are and their beliefs, but yet still do a great job at what they do? Does it change in seasons? How does it look for you?
Yeah, you know, I think being a Christian, coming into the industry, you know, I was just like, okay, cool, man. You know, I'm just gonna do whatever, and then they arrive moments, and you're like, okay, so you need to take your top off of this. You need to do this kind of sex scene. You need to say these words. You need to do this kind of show. And they really challenged my values. I was like, ooh, and I mean, there was no guidebook on it or whatever, but I really was challenged, you know, and so that's why I would call you and say, Lynn, this is feeling like a compromise. I don't know if I should or shouldn't, you know, and so I had to get to a point where I said, you know, even to my agent, no sex scenes, no drugs, no smoking, no whatever, you know, I'm not going to be going for those kind of things. And I guess people would say, you know, but you're acting, that is not you, and you know, and I get that, but I think it's, for me personally, it's so difficult to separate that from that, you know, because who you are and what you do are so, for me, closely linked, you know.
Intertwined,
but I think you've also got to look at it in context. So if it's, and you know, if I'm meant to be an African warrior, dating in Shaka Zulu times or whatever, you know, and I've got my top off, that is understandable. That is context. That is, you know. But if it's in a different kind of setting,
100%,
100%. You know, I've got to decide personally what I'm comfortable with and what I'm not, and I think it may vary for different people. But you know, I have to just go with what my conscience and gut is saying and saying, hey, okay, these are the boundary lines that I have.
Yes.
And I can walk away from that knowing that I've walked in my integrity and uprightness.
Brilliant.
Because I'm going to stand before God one day and have to give an account, you know.
Brilliant.
So
Brilliant. And I guess it differs from everybody, right? It differs from...
It differs, you know. And I've had to say no to some things, and it's cost me financially.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that.
It absolutely has cost me. And some people have said, hey, I'm not going to call you for that anymore because, you know, you did X, Y, and Z, or you won't do this and that.
Oh, really, hey?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've had some of those conversations. You know, and I just have to go, you know, my career is not in your hands, it's in God's hands. And if you want to threaten with, I'm never going to work with you again, and, you know, then I guess so be it.
So be it, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure your agents may have said, okay, what, were your agents, wow, how were they with that when you said to them, hey, look, I can't do, etc., etc.?
So I had one agent said, you never have to compromise what you do on set with who you are. You can make it, you know.
It's beautiful.
And that set me at ease, and I was comfortable, and she understood it. And I was like, cool, okay, you know. And I think these days people, you know, if you just upfront and clear about who you are, people, I guess, respect and understand that.
I'm with you.
You know.
What are you musing on right now at the moment? What's in your heart? What is God saying to you at the moment? What are you, as a creative in this industry, and what is God saying to you at the moment? Where are you at? What is God saying?
Yeah. So for me, I think I feel like the business that I'm in, training and developing young people, is an important one.
Yes.
And so for me, it's really about growth and expansion and trying to reach more young people who have a desire for the arts to be built up in it, because along with the arts, whether you end up in it or not, the confidence that just being in that kind of space brings to you is worth more than anything else, you know. So I've run confidence courses using the arts, and people who are executives in business today say, man, if I had done something like this where I learn how to express myself and my thoughts and my ideas in a way that is confident, you know, where I can speak up and articulate myself clearly, I wouldn't be nervous in the boardroom, you know. So the arts has its value in so many places.
Absolutely.
You know, so for me, growth and expansion in that area, I think, just writing shows, creating shows, staging things.
Love it.
You know, and I mean, I haven't done much in terms of TV and film over the past couple of years, because this has really been a focus for me. But I do believe that will come again.
And it's kind of like, just go with what is happening at the moment.
Absolutely.
Go with that where it's bearing fruit. Go with that.
That's it.
And allow the Lord to lead that, right?
That's it.
Allow the Lord to lead that. I love the fact that you are, because I think it starts when you're young. I do think that confidence starts when you're young, and what a vehicle to use with the dancing and the creativity, where people have self-esteem, have self-confidence, are able to present themselves beyond just what they do. You can be great at what you do, but not have that confidence and stuff. And I see you such a perfect person to be doing that. And I see how you interact with the youngsters and how they interact with you. There's something special that's happening there when I see the schools, and there's something really, really special that's happening. And I think that you are just, there's almost like an anointing on that for you to do that, you know.
Thank you, man.
I could definitely say keep doing that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, really,
you know, I've
it's
seen
really
the value in my life coming from being somebody who shakes in front of people, you know, where you just you know, you don't know how to express yourself. You want to. There's a message. But you don't have, you know, the ability to. And the arts was something that really God used, I guess, to open me up, to bring a sense of confidence.
Beautiful.
In my life.
Beautiful. But it's also your humbleness in it as well. You've approached it with humility, and I think that God has used that from the approach of just humility and all the rest of it. It's been really, really beautiful, really, really beautiful. Your link up with church, and we come from obviously a church background. We were recently, unfortunately, at Pastor Ray's funeral, and what a beautiful time of just looking back in the past and thinking like there's a new era. It seems like it's a new era and a new thing that's happening. But your experience with church life and where you're at right now, there's been some ups, there's been some downs, and how do we as creatives contribute to the church life, but then balance ourselves out with who we are within church, and how does that all look for you? How's that morphed out for you, for creatives that are looking, who are in church life right now at the moment? How do they contribute to the church but yet still flourish in their own
personal
way
lives,
and not feel like they are being stifled within that area? There's so many conversations that we can have around that, right?
That could be a whole
podcast
we'll have to have you back, right?
Yep.
But I think it's important to realize that you do have something to contribute to your church, and I think it's important to be involved where you can. Whether if you're a singer, you can sing, and whether you are a dancer, you can dance. If you helping out with kids, church is community, and it's the church that I guess runs the church.
100%,
people,
100%,
and makes
100%.
it happen, But I think there has definitely been, I think, some points of, and I want to be careful in how I say it or whatever, but abuse, where artists will come in and just passionate for God, and because artists are quite, I'd say, emotionally in tune,
100%,
or, you will end up giving everything and doing everything and putting out and not taking in as much as you need, and not protecting your boundaries in a sense as to, okay, how much can I give, to a point where it is not
unhealthy,
point where it's not unhealthy,
Sure.
And I think, I would just say to pastors, shepherds, leaders, just to have a look out for that, and to really, unfortunately, we've heard of and seen situations where, people are valued for the gift that they bring, and when they can't bring that gift any longer, they don't really matter. There's no following up, shepherding, concern about how are you, seeing how they're doing, taking care of their families where it's needed, or just them, So I think for pastors and shepherds to be so aware of not taking the gift and neglecting the person, the holistic person, and ministering to that, and I've had experiences of that where I just felt, just taken advantage of, whether it's been financially, whether it's been time, whether it's been for the gift, and you end up feeling dry. And the challenge with that is that people then walk away from church.
I got you, mate.
Hurt.
I got you.
If they mature, and you know what I mean,
I got you.
They can have a view on that and come through it, but others walk away going, if this is what God is about in church, then I never want to be there.
Sure.
So.
Sure. Carl, like I've been saying, I think this is the third time now that we've got a little bit of life under our belt, right? And so we're able to kind of see the trees from the wood from the trees, right? And so I think when you talk like that, I think we have a bit of background and going, watch out for this, be aware of that. And also we've been able to mature. You use the word mature. Mature and not let offense keep us, and not let things hold us back, but to be able to grow and to go, cool, we are going to do better. We are going to try to be better. We are going to support and love and pray and support. And I think that's probably holding us in a good stead, but to encourage the younger generation to be on the lookout for that, and then shepherds, like you say, to just be wise. And I can also understand it, shepherds, there's a need sometimes, and you just want to take it, and sometimes you overlook certain things. So it's not, And I think what's so healthy about this is not us pointing the finger or you pointing the finger and going, yeah, but to go, be aware of, look into, be aware of, you know. I think that's so important, right? That's really, really important, you know. As a creative and being in church, I've often felt, I want to do more. I want to, come on, you're not meeting all of my creative needs and my desires, and I want to do this. And I've just realized, you know, the church is not there to fulfill all my needs.
Yeah.
They're there to help and assist and be a blessing, but I need to find avenues within my life where I can find fulfillment and find joy and be a resource of encouragement and not just taken away from, but giving to and not just taking away from. And it is a fine balance, and I think that you and I have kind of covered a bit of life to encourage those and to have these conversations beyond the stage, to go look out for, be aware of, and give them avenues of where to grow, you know, within that. And so I'm blessed, and this is why I want to have these conversations, because we've had a bit of life underneath our belt, you know, to be able to encourage those around us, you know. And so I'm very grateful for that. Is there anything that you want to leave our listeners with that you feel that they could be encouraged with over this time? And I really appreciate you coming. And you know, the scripture I had in mind was, and I think I may have mentioned it early on, but when I was just thinking through today, I was just thinking, as a man, iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely.
And so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend.
Absolutely.
And I can honestly say that you've sharpened me when I've had areas in my life that I've needed sharpened. Your input, your take, your comment, or your feedback. I've gone, okay, maybe I shouldn't do that, or you sharpen me, man. And
thank you, and then the same the other way. You know, it's been a valuable relationship.
Yeah, and I think that we need more of that out there. We need more of, not that we're perfect examples of it, but we need more of men sharpening each other, going, hey man, watch out for this. You know, we really do need that. And also to keep each other accountable. Yeah.
Can I share something? You know, I was on an international tour a couple of years ago, you know, and a couple of us were believers on the group, and we would get together and once a week pray for each other. We were in China, and many other places, you know. And I remember at one point somebody was getting involved with someone else, but this person was married. They were part of our group, you know.
Okay, all right.
And we were talking about what should we do, and I was like, hey, I mean, just have a conversation with the person and say, hey, you know, you're married, and I can see that these things are happening. And so mine was a little bit more of a direct approach, you know. And the other person was like, well, I'm not sure, you know, I don't know, mess in their business, or they must do them and we must do us. And I was like, well, as much as because the relationship, and I use this as a reference, is a great and encouraging and an awesome one. It was also, man, there's an accountability, you know. I think between us, we would go to one another, not in a judgmental way, but in a way that says, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
I can see something's happening. Do you need support? Do you want to talk about this?
Yeah.
You know, how do we, you know?
Yeah.
And it's iron sharpening iron, and I guess sometimes having...
I think one of the things that's kept me, Carlo, to be honest with you, but one of the things that's kept me is I know that I have a friend there that I need to tell the truth to.
Yeah. And we've had to.
Yeah.
I've had to come to you at times and say, Lynn, this is what I've done, or this is what I'm going through.
Yeah. If I'm going to be your friend, then okay, then let me not just be there for the good times, but let me be there to go, okay, but this is actually not happening. And I think that accountability thing, and the reason why I think that scripture is so real for me is because iron sharpens iron. Yeah. And you know, if you're in a circle of whatever you're in, if you're in a cycle of whatever you may be in, there comes a time that you need to be accountable to go, I'm in this but if you keep going back to the cycle, how do we go, okay, no, this is see it for what it is. Yeah. And not go, hey, let's go out for a drink, or let's go out for a, you know, let's soothe the problem. Yeah. How are we going to deal with it? And if you don't want help, hey, that's also another issue we could talk about, but that we could see the issue for what it is and be accountable, you know. But if we're running and hiding and ducking and diving, it makes it so much harder to progress in life. And I think you've been a great progressor. You've been a great progressor to help me progress, And I think that's why these conversations are important, because we need each other. We need each other in that regard,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You want to, is that what you wanted to say?
No, that was not what I wanted to say. Parting words.
Yeah.
I think, God is the anchor in everything, and I think if we put Him first, we will experience success. We will experience not only success but significance. You will experience health.
Yes.
Healthy relationships, healthy family life, God's got a great life for us, and I think we should never be afraid to put Him first, and also not afraid to say who we are and be bold about it, and so that would be my encouragement.
Lovely.
Lovely. Be bold about who you are, about who God is in your life.
Sure.
And you know what? With God, you can go so much further. So much further.
Yeah. So this year, my birthday, I wasn't keen. I was turning older, and once you get into your 40s, you're like, you don't want to tell people. I wanted to post on social media and go, this is my top 10 points of my life right now at the moment. But I wasn't really keen. And you took me out for breakfast. You were like, come on, let's go. And I think you could sense, this guy he just wants to be left alone.
We need to celebrate.
Yeah, and so we celebrated, and there were one or two quotes that I wanted to post on my life, and just, but one of the things just quotes and stuff like that we live by, mottos and creeds that we live by, and it'd be nice to hear one or two of yours now too. But one of the things that for me in this stage of my life, because before I had the energy to do whatever, and we could go and we could jump over a wall and do whatever. Now it's like, yo man, this is a little bit harder right now. We need to put some effort into this, whether it's your exercise, whether it's in your finances, whether it's in just life in general. And one of the things for me was that consistency beats intensity.
Wow.
Consistency beats intensity. If we're
that
just
is
consistent,
so good.
If we're consistent, and that's a kind of a motto that I've taken on in my life. Just be consistent, with your life. In your health, be consistent, because sometimes we're tempted to go, I need to rectify the situation, and because we've procrastinated or whatever, we need to just be consistent with it, with your body, with your health, in your marriage, with your kids. Just try to be consistent. That's one of my creeds right now at the moment, is consistency beats intensity, because you can be intense, but they never deliver on a consistent basis within your life, whether it's in your spiritual walk with the Lord, your spouse, your friends, whatever. And that's kind of a motto in my life right now at the moment. So is there any mottos or creeds, with whether it's scripture or with anything with you right now at the moment?
Well, I think one that we've constantly had conversations about is outer world versus inner world.
Oh man.
And how what's more important is what's going on the inside.
Yes, sir.
Taking care of your private life before you try to go out there and conquer the outer world. Because if your private life is great, your relationship with God is great, your husband, your wife, your spouse, your family, those things are great and solid, you can go out there and take on the world. And so just taking care of the inner, the private life, the important things before going out there, because easy, you can put on a smile, you can things can look like they're going great, flourishing on set and in the limelight, but how are you actually on the inside? And maybe you need to go, hey, I need to take a step back, or I need to start to take care of myself spiritually. I need to connect with people. I'm a bit isolated. I'm not where I want to be in terms of my family relationship. And you've been such an awesome example that, like, no, let me set the boundaries and take care of and prioritize those things, because in the long run, those are the things that will keep you and bring stability and strength and give you the opportunity to do the great and bigger things.
Stunning. I love it. I think that's a great place to conclude our podcast. If you're let your inner world guard your outer world. Let your inner world guard your outer world, especially as believers, as born again believers. you can run the treadmill, but you're gonna fall short, right? You're gonna run, you're gonna keep
fall
running
short
and
of
find
steam.
yourself empty.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I think, in honor of Pastor Ray, he had a quote where he would speak about, if your output exceeds your input, your upkeep becomes your downfall.
Yes, sir. That's right. That's right.
And that's really just about making sure you're putting in more than what you're taking out.
That's right. That's right.
So that you don't run out of steam along the way.
That's right. That's right. Carl, thanks for coming through today. I hope that you've enjoyed this time and just chatting and
I've loved it, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I think what you're doing and this message is so pertinent, and so well done, man. And I just want to say, I'm looking forward to the Lyndon Peterson album and songs and those kind of things. So I'm gonna have to interview you about that one day.
We'll do it. There's a lot more to come, folks. There's a lot more to come. But this is the Beyond the Stage Productions, and Beyond the Stage is really just my life, my friends, my encounters, my ponderings, my thinking about life, beyond just being up on stage, which has been an amazing privilege for me. But really, life happens where the time meets the road, where difficult things happen. And so the conversations will be broad, vast, but they will encourage you, and that's what I'm believing and hoping for. So keep going. God bless you, and thanks for listening and supporting the show. God bless you.